Behold a Bone Horse, a Good Omens multi-voice podfic written by Snowphilly1 and voiced by
SkyAsimaru
and Djapchan. Contrary to popular belief, heaven does not have the only green and pleasant lands in the afterlife. There are plenty of fields in hell. Most of them are graced by hell horses, which are normally 17 hands of bad temper, black coat, and fiery eyes. There used to be hell ponies, for use by minor imps, but once hell-discovered Shetlands did the job just as well, and on less of a feed bill, they were sold off to riding schools on Earth. Alongside the Shetlands, there's an assortment of earthborn horses that ended up here, a few experimental types with wings or extra legs or, in the worst case, some scales and flippers on the back end, and currently a very unhappy demon called Crowley. He's standing between an irate Prince Beelzebub and a skeleton horse that, despite not having ears, is still managing to indicate that they are led flat back in Crowley's direction.
Please, my lord! For the last time, Crowley, no. You need to look the part, and I am fed up with your excuses. No one else has a problem with any of the hell horses, and no one else manages to come back here needing a new corporation because they fell off an earth horse. You've done that twice. Last time I was up there, I stole an angel's horse. We know. But you cannot go around riding a hack on duty. It just doesn't look the part, however annoying the angel in question found it.
The angel in question had been delighted to lend Crowley his bay mare, and even more delighted when the pair of them had returned home in one piece a few days later. But Crowley hadn't included that part in his report, nor the fact she'd had yellow flowers woven into her mane, and when he'd picked her up at the mews.
But, Lord, I can't ride. That's a skeleton. There's nowhere for the saddle to go. I can't. By all accounts, you can't ride anyway, so it shouldn't make much of a difference. Can't I? Crowley, stop arguing.
The leather lead rope sizzles in his hand as Beelzebub passes it over. An empty socket rolls in his direction, and the skeletal horse braces itself and refuses to walk on with him. Beelzebub yells something. He's quite glad he doesn't understand it, and the horse leaps forward, tugging Crowley along as though he's water skiing. There's a blur of deeply cold space, and they're in London again. He thinks it might be Hampstead Heath. The sky is bruise purple with the mixture of sunset and rain sweeping in, and the area is full of people walking back from the factories.
What the fuck am I meant to do with you?
He says, and the skeleton bares its teeth. Quite a feat, considering it doesn't have lips or skin to keep them hidden anyway.
Probably make good money down the glue factory.
Crowley tells it and sets off in the direction of home, or at least some scotch. By the time he's halfway there, his arm and shoulder are on fire. The damn skeleton props and shies at almost everything and manages a wide variety of snorts for an animal with no nostrils to blow air out of. He'd tried flapping the end of the rope against its sides, but the leather had got tangled up with some rib bones, and demon or not, he'd felt vaguely sick at sticking his hands inside what seemed to be a living creature to sort it out. The absence of things like entrails and blood had been nice, though. In the end, he does what he always does and calls for Aziraphale. One of the kids who hang around near his lodgings is happy to carry a message for him, and then it's just a question of suggesting to everyone else between here and the livery yard that they really don't need to look too closely at what he's leading. The skeleton sidesteps into a puddle of what Crowley really hopes is water and splashes him. Aziraphale comes and stands alongside him at the stable door, looks at the skeleton dispassionately.
Well, I mean, you can at least get a bit and bridle on it. Look, got the gap between the teeth there perfectly. Give you some breaks.
Like that's helped with any horse I've ever had to ride before, ever.
It might make a difference this time. Think positively, Crowley. Beelzebub wants you to get there and back in one piece, right? Zir wouldn't have sent a horse that was going to kill you and stop you doing your job.
The skeleton paws the ground. Crowley can see Aziraphale hastily rethinking his statement.
And you won't have to feed it.
Aziraphale, will you please stop trying to look on the bright side? I've got lumbered with a skeleton horse that hates my guts. There is no bloody bright side.
Well, really, what do you want me to say, then?
Here's a bottle of scotch, Crowley. I hope you don't die trying to break it in, Crowley. Would be a good start.
They both stand in silence for a while. The skeleton is looking at them.
How?
Crowley says after a long while of listening to the rain drum on the tin roof.
Do you propose I get a saddle on that?
In the normal way, I should... Oh, yes, I do rather see your point.
Yeah, girth is just going to go right up between the bones. There's nothing to stop it. Do you think there should be more bones there?
What do you think I am, a farrier? Maybe if we made a really padded rug and used leg straps, you could sit on the padding.
Aziraphale eventually takes pity on him and goes to find a drink. He comes back with a few bottles of stout. Crowley's sitting in the straw now, watching the skeleton watch him back.
Here you go. Couldn't find any scotch anywhere, and I get a feeling I might need some extra miracles to sort that creature of yours out now, so I didn't want to spare one on the scotch anyway.
Crowley grabs a bottle and starts drinking. Aziraphale does the same. A minute later, the skeleton walks towards them and reaches out to nose at the bottle Crowley's drinking from.
What the?
I know some of the cabbies give their horses stout. Perhaps he wants a taste.
A taste? Aziraphale, it hasn't got anything to taste with. It can bugger off.
You always have a drink when you come back from hell.
Aziraphale points out in a voice that's a lot more reasonable than Crowley thinks is fair.
Let him have a taste.
He makes sure to glare at the angel the whole time he's pouring stout into, or at least around, the jawbones. Of course, most of it ends up splattered across the straw, and the rest goes down Crowley's sleeves and across his chest, but the skeleton does seem to enjoy it. Great. He's giving emotions to a somewhat animated pile of bones now. Aziraphale really is a bad influence on him. They drink in silence for a while.
I hear grooming is good to establish a bond with them.
Slight problem there, Angel.
And Crowley waves his hand in a way that's meant to indicate the total lack of height and hair.
Much as I'm thrilled not to be getting hairs in places you shouldn't get hairs, I don't think it'll enjoy a good polish. And Beelzebub is not going to be happy if I take up scrimshawing on its ribs, so I think I'll skip that step.
How about
If you even suggest liberty work, I'm going to set fire to your books and you can go and retrieve it from Hyde Park or wherever it ends up before it starts eating people.
Aziraphale nods in resignation.
we'll try again in the morning then? When do you need to be off by?
Tomorrow evening, at the latest. I'd prefer going in the day so I'm not freezing my backside off for all of it. Do you think it needs a bucket of water? Probably. And you'd best leave it some hay.
He really hopes the grooms aren't looking. Crowley shuts both the stable doors once he's finished and falls into step with Aziraphale. The skeleton bashes a front hoof against the wood, and he swears at it without looking back. Although, considering nothing's caught fire so far, it's a step above some of the others he'd had. The gas lamps are burning now. They cross from dark to light, and back again a dozen times before they part ways, and the city seems a lot darker once he's on his own. He thinks he can hear bones on cobblestone. It's raining in the morning, a harsh driving rain that has Crowley crabbing sideways and squinting to keep it out of his eyes as he walks, and the skeleton tries to bite him as soon as he steps into the loose box.
Right, well, you're either going in the stalls or for dog bait if you're going to do that, mate.
Do what?
Aziraphale's voice is all sunshine and flowers. Disgusting at this time of the morning.
Damn thing bit me.
There's a sudden rush of power and a voice laced with angelic demand. The skeleton tosses its head and scrabbles backwards.
Well, he won't do it again.
Do we even know it's a he? Seems to be lacking the requisite bits.
I don't think hell are in the habit of sending out nice quiet mares, do you?
Crowley has to admit Aziraphale's got a point there. Crowley makes an attempt at getting a bridle on it. There's a severe lack of ears to keep the crown piece back, but as Aziraphale had pointed out, there's at least a gap for the bits there. Are the teeth still wearing down? He decides that really isn't something he wants to know the answer to.
I brought you that padded rug thing I made last night. I thought it might help.
Crowley blushes, torn between being grateful for the help and mortified. Why couldn't he just borrow Aziraphale's mare again? It would still be quicker than all this nonsense. It takes rather more attempts than he'd like, but they manage to get something approximating a saddle on roughly the right area, and no one gets bitten. He's had worse days. Although...
Aziraphale, you do realise that as soon as I put my foot in the stirrup, that girth is going to move.
You'll just have to vault on, I guess. Or I could give you a leg over.
He doesn't quite choke, but it's a close thing. In the end, he does get Aziraphale to give him a leg up, mostly because the skeleton won't stand still. He very carefully doesn't notice how the angel's hands feel around his leg. Crowley rides it once around the yard. There's a lot of clicking, like loose shoes, and he carefully doesn't think about the physics of a horse with no hooves wearing shoes. Doesn't really want to think about any of it. The neck vertebrae rising in front of him allow a worrying view of the ground, and there's no mane to use in an emergency either.
Well, do you think you'll be all right?
The skeleton nuzzles against Aziraphale's outstretched palm, and Crowley feels slighted by that somehow. It's meant to be hating him, not soft-talking the angel.
No, but Beelzebub is going to get inventive if I screw this one up, so I guess I'll have to make the best of it. And will you stop patting the damn thing? It's creepy patting something with no skin.
Aziraphale moves his hand away from a cheekbone.
I thought you liked creepy.
Not with dead things that haven't got the message, I don't.
The rain's getting under his cape already, and the skeleton doesn't have the meager benefit of a real horse's warmth.
Maybe you should try naming him. I often find things respond better to a name.
Dog bait? Glue on the hoof? Stand still, you bastard!
Crowley!
Ugh, there's that note suggesting he's gone too far this time. He holds a hand up in mock surrender.
All right. Will Bone Horse do?
Aziraphale gives him a long, steady look.
I don't know. Why don't you ask him?
Because I'm meant to be in sodding Southend in 3 days, and my spine's going to get jolted into my mouth if I don't die of cold first. Not exactly in the mood for talking to a Marie Lloyd with ideas above its station about what it'd like to be called.
Well, just try and be nice to him. I'm sure you'll be fine. Let me know when you're back.
Much to Crowley's surprise, they make it out the yard in one piece. Even got out onto the main London road without too much trouble, although a coach and 4 take one look at them and skitter sideways. A richly dressed passenger almost falls from the top deck. Hastily, he tries to reinforce the glamour around them both, suggests that there's nothing to see aside from an ordinary man riding a distinctly ordinary horse. By the end of the day, his eyes are aching with tiredness, but no one's shouted anything at them, so he's counting that as a win. There do seem to be more dogs following him than usual, though. The overnights at the inns are the worst. It takes far more miracles to convince the grooms that there's nothing to see here than he'd like, and he can't get over his queasiness at seeing hay being swallowed by something that's got nothing to allow swallowing to actually work. Not that he minds seeing the forces of physics and nature take a hike, but he prefers not to have to look at it while he's trying to eat. Plus, the damn thing seems to have forgotten all about Aziraphale's instructions not to bite. He's already had to mend a tear in his good shirt when he wasn't quick enough getting the bridle on. By the time they're getting close to Southend 3 days later, Crowley is a frazzled lump of misery and cold, huddled in his cape. The skeleton horse has done the last few miles at a literal bone-jarring trot, despite his best efforts to pull it up, and he's fairly sure a few bits have fallen off somewhere along the path. Crowley's back hurts. His feet have gone numb in the stirrups, and the less said about other, more sensitive parts, the better. The fall is so sudden he doesn't have time to register it. 1 minute there's a neck and a skull curving up in front of him, with some desolate-looking trees and a lot of rain between where the ears should be. Then there's a lurch and the brief sensation of flight, and a lot of pain. The realization that he's done this twice before, and he doesn't like how it ends. Crowley wakes up to a bony nuzzle shoving him in the chest, the sensation of water running under his clothes, and...
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Well, there really is no need for that sort of language. I'm doing a colleague a favor.
Yeah? Well, fuck off and let him sort this out.
He tries to squirm to a sitting position. It doesn't work. What looks uncomfortably like a scythe sparkles in the edge of his vision. He's never been too happy about agricultural metaphors like that, and he's not about to start now.
He didn't leave any instructions on how to handle this situation. I was left notes on humans only, and Albert says I am lax with the paperwork.
That's because there is no situation. Look, perfectly fine, see?
I do see. You are not human, nor dwarf, vampire, elf, gnome, Time Lord, etc., etc. Can you tell me if you have a lifetimer anywhere?
Crowley hisses between his teeth.
I'm a demon. We don't die. Are you sure you aren't confusing me with this horse?
He feels better as soon as Death starts looking away from him.
He also didn't leave me any notes concerning skeletons. Are you sure this isn't a golem horse?
Quite.
Death shrugs. Crowley screws his eyes shut. Even compared to the skeleton horse, it's disconcerting to see so many dimensions get rudely shoved out of the way.
I have to take something here, to balance the books, as it were.
I'm not dying.
Crowley repeats in what he hopes is a convincing tone.
But you can take the horse.
It may be slightly more practical than my current one, less of a fire hazard. Do you have authority to give it to me?
Absolutely. Look, my lord gave me this horse on condition I used it to do my assignment. Now, I can hardly do my assignment if I'm dead, can I? So, it's fine.
Crowley isn't sure that deaths of any world are susceptible to temptation, but he gives it his best shot.
I did notice you were currently walking. And as you say, less of a fire hazard. Hasn't caused a single fire with me.
There's a soft humming noise for a moment, then what sounds like bones clicking. Horse or Grim Reaper, he isn't sure, but the pain goes immediately.
Very well. I'll just need you to sign this, and what are you doing here? Squeak! Is that so?
Crowley blinks, but the rat in a robe is still sitting next to him. He opts to ignore it, on the grounds of not wanting even one more weird thing to deal with.
Sign, please.
He does. Beelzebub is going to have something to say about this, but the nice thing about getting yelled at by hell is that you're alive for that sort of thing.
It does bite a lot. And kick.
Might as well be honest. Aziraphale will approve, if nothing else.
He will not. And I believe he needs a name. I shall consider it.
Bony fingers stroke down a bony shoulder. There's a soft wicker, which Crowley really doesn't want to consider the mechanics of. Death adjusts a few straps on the rug saddle thing, gently places the rat on the pommel, and glances across at Crowley.
I'm heading for a curry before I return. Your world always has such good ones. Can we give you a lift anywhere?
He thinks, for a long moment, of asking to go back to London and to Aziraphale, but...
Work to do here. You know how it is.
Death gives him a nod, one professional to another, and touches his heels to what ought to be flanks. The skeleton horse and rider disappear into a flash of blue light. Squinting across the rain, Crowley starts walking. The end.